That's right, you alien assholes, you ain't never gonna get me. Fuck. What's up, yuck monsters? It's Rufus. And I've already made videos about the Marathon series, a trilogy of kick-ass 90s sci-fi first-person shooters that were the first big hits for developers Bungie and heavily influenced their later Halo and Destiny franchises. But what if I told you there were actually more than 3 games in the Marathon universe? No, I'm not talking about that new Marathon, which is still in development at the time of this recording. I'm talking about a game that predates the entire franchise, but is surprisingly set in the same universe. That's right, today we're going to look at 1993's Pathways into Darkness. Yep, if you assumed a Marathon-related game would be shooting a bunch of aliens, you'd be right. Now before you ask, that's not the music from the game. In fact, there's no music in this game at all. But it is a song called Pathways into Darkness, so I figured, close enough. Now at first glance, this game looks pretty much like Wolfenstein 3D, but with weird-ass monsters instead of Nazis. But there's actually much more to it than that. Of course, to fully understand the story, you have to read the fucking manual because it's the 90s. But I'll summarize. On May 5th, 1994, the Pentagon receives an emergency message from Ryutoth, a representative from a mysterious alien race called the Jaro. Sound familiar? Anyway, remember that giant asteroid that smacked into the Yucatan Peninsula 65 million years ago and caused the dinosaurs to go extinct? Well, Ryutoth reveals that wasn't an asteroid at all, but a big-ass alien god who fell from the stars and has since laid dormant, buried underground. However, back in the 1930s, people began reporting sightings of a mysterious pyramid deep in the Yucatan jungle, which is neither Aztec nor Mayan, and is rumored to be full of bizarre, hideous creatures. It seems the sleeping god is beginning to dream. Our homie Ryutoth warns the government that they have 1 week to sneak a nuclear bomb into the depths of the pyramid and blow it up, or else the restless god will awaken and destroy the planet. And that's where you come in. See, a couple days later, a special forces team is dropped near the pyramid to go save the world with a portable nuke. You play one of these soldiers, but your parachute fails on the way down, so you get separated from the rest of the team and lose all your gear. You eventually make it to the pyramid, several hours after the others, and, armed only with a flashlight and a knife, you enter the mysterious structure, where the game begins. Once you're inside the dark and creepy pyramid, you immediately find a bunch of old bones, strange runes on the floor, and dead Nazis, who apparently once tried to raid the place. Fortunately, they left a bunch of guns and ammo lying around, because the pyramid is also chock full of weird-ass critters conjured up by the dreaming god, all of which are trying to kill you. So your goal in this game is to complete your mission and save the world by finding and detonating that nuke without getting horribly murdered by fucked-up monsters. And both the levels and the creatures get progressively freakier and more alien as you travel deeper and deeper underground. Pathways into Darkness is, at its core, an old-school first-person shooter, in that most of the gameplay involves wandering around basic 3D maps and using the guns you find to defend yourself against legions of alien creatures who are trying to kill your ass. You get a pretty standard arsenal: knife, pistol, machine gun, assault rifle, grenade launcher, and a nice little variety of wacky alien monsters to shoot at, everything from zombies to whatever the fuck this is, who try to kill you with various melee attacks and projectiles, as well as special powers like these dudes who can cause earthquakes, or these buggers who poison you so you slowly lose health. But what separates Pathways from the rest of the herd is that Bungie also incorporated a lot of classic adventure game elements. Firstly, the progression is non-linear. The pyramid is divided into vertical floors, so to get from one level to the next you climb up or down various ladders, but each level has multiple exits to other ones, and you can return to previous levels, so you can explore the pyramid in whatever order you like. Of course, certain areas will be blocked off until you figure out how to open them by doing stuff like flipping switches, stepping on runes, or using one of the strange alien artifacts you find. Speaking of which, there are a shitload of helpful items you can grab along your way, so this game has a full-fledged inventory system which you are, of course, welcome to obsessively micromanage. There are various pieces of treasure to collect, kinda like Wolfenstein, and the more loot you pick up, the bigger your health bar gets. There are also mysterious magic potions to find. Blue Blue potions instantly restore you to full health or cure you if you're poisoned. Red potions make the enemies move in slow motion for a while. Pink potions make you temporarily invincible. And brown potions poison you, which can be a good thing. More on that later. You also find alien crystals with different magical effects, which you can equip and basically use as alternate fire. The blue crystal freezes enemies, the orange crystal burns them, the pink crystal electrocutes them, the green crystal causes an earthquake that hurts anybody nearby, and the black crystal can turn any monster into stone, Medusa style. But you can't just use these willy-nilly. The crystals take time to recharge between firing, and after a certain number of uses, they will eventually break. With the exception of the yellow crystal, probably the single most interesting item in the game, because it lets you talk to the motherfucking dead. That's right, if you stand over a dead body and activate it, you can have an actual conversation with the ghost of any of the many dead Nazis you come across. Or later in the game, dead Cuban treasure hunters, and even your own former squad mates. Spoiler, they didn't make it. Talking to the dead is done Zork style, where you type in keywords and see how they respond, which provides both extra backstory about who they were and why they were here, as well as vital clues about how to beat certain bad guys, find hidden shit, or solve puzzles. You'll be doing this a lot, so the yellow crystal is the only one you can use an unlimited number of times. Besides all that fun stuff, there's also unique magic items you can find throughout the game, like this wooden box that duplicates anything you put into it every few minutes, so you can use it to farm ammo, the ruby ring, which makes all your crystals charge up faster, or this bottomless bag that can hold an unlimited number of items, which gives you a chance to declutter your inventory. Besides all the usable items, this game also features weapon proficiencies. The more you use a gun, the better you get at it, which increases how much damage it deals out. And another element straight out of an RPG is that even when you don't have any blue potions, you can still restore your health by just resting for a while. But it has its downsides. Firstly, you better make sure you've cleared out any enemies nearby or you'll get attacked in your sleep. But more importantly, resting wastes time. Remember how the Jaro said you only have a week to kill the Dreaming God? That means you have to plant the nuke and get the fuck out of the pyramid by 2 p.m. Friday, and the clock is always ticking. With all these extra gameplay elements thrown in the mix, Pathways into Darkness is clearly not just another Wolfenstein 3D clone, but rather a funky shooter RPG hybrid much more akin to System Shock, but released a whole year earlier. Which makes sense because the developer, Bungie, has made a 30-year career out of producing games that are ahead of their time. However, back in 1992, they were a brand new company consisting of just 2 college students, Alex Seropian and Jason Jones, who had only released 3 pretty rudimentary Mac games: Gnop, a Pong clone, Operation Desert Storm, a tank shooter, and Minotaur the Labyrinths of Crete, a multiplayer RPG. But that summer, id Software dropped the smash hit Wolfenstein 3D, which pioneered the modern first-person shooter and changed the face of gaming forever. As soon as Jason Jones got his hands on it, he was inspired to develop a similar first-person game for Mac. Now, originally they planned for it to be a sequel to Minotaur, but eventually dropped that idea and decided to give the game its own original sci-fi story involving the Jaro and all that shit. Probably the last time we'll hear about those guys. Anyway, Jason spent the next year programming the game single-handedly, with Alex handling the business side of things, until, in August 1993, Pathways into Darkness was officially released, and it was instantly a big hit with Mac gamers. After all, this was the first real-time, texture-mapped first-person shooter for Mac, predating the port of Wolfenstein by 2 years, so it was some really impressive shit at the time. And it was Bungie's first commercial success, beginning a legacy of great sci-fi first-person shooters that would eventually include Marathon, Halo, and Destiny. But what made Pathways into Darkness so special? Well, the first thing that impressed me was that this game manages to be legitimately scary, even for something so low-tech. Because you're exploring an underground complex with only a flashlight, the game is super dark and your view distance is limited, making it extremely creepy when you stumble across a bunch of mutilated corpses, or some new eldritch horror shambles out of the darkness. And this is greatly helped by the fact that, when nothing is happening, the game is completely silent. So when a critter pops out and makes a noise, it can legitimately be a pants-shitting jump scare. This game also had stereo sound back when that was a luxury, so you can hear which direction a monster is approaching from before you see them, which is scary as fuck. The spookiness is further enhanced by some of the eerie shit the dead guys say, like how they can sense the Dreaming God, as well as dire warnings like, "They're everywhere." They're everywhere! And I like how the graphical style gets weirder the deeper you descend into the alien pyramid. Like, up near the surface, the ladders to get to the other levels are just normal-ass wooden ladders, but then they become these strange crystal formations, and eventually are just freaky alien vines. And the last few levels don't even give you ladders anymore, just mysterious teleporters. And they throw curveballs at you, like this level featuring these flying rat things that are attracted to light. So you're forced to explore that map with your flashlight off, so you can barely see the monsters coming at you from the darkness. Fuck that. Or this map where you get attacked by invisible wraiths you can only see after you find a pair of infrared goggles nearby, which feels like the problem is solved until you realize there are also phantasms around who can't be seen in infrared. This is straight up psychological torture. At so many moments in this game, I legitimately found me, a grown-ass man, timidly peeking around corners, dreading what would pop out next. It's like Bungie saw Wolfenstein and said, we can do that, but make it fucking terrifying. Pathways also has really interesting gameplay, with a nice balance of action and adventure elements. Sure, there's plenty of shooty carnage, but you also need to explore carefully, collect every clue you can from the dead, and use a variety of tactics in different situations. There are different ammo types for some of the guns, which have slightly different effects on different monsters, like these floaty blue guys, who are much more dangerous than they look, and have armored skin so they can only be killed by armor-piercing rounds. And some monsters can't be killed with firearms at all. Phantasms are completely impervious to bullets and can only be killed with crystals. Ditto these sentinel dudes who will sit there blocking your path with an indestructible force field and can only be defeated by causing an earthquake. Then there are these green goo guys who are immune to any kind of weapon. But if you were paying attention to the last dead guy you met, you'll realize that if you're poisoned, they will completely ignore you and you can walk right past. See, I told you that brown potion would come in handy. So even though it is basically a shooter, it's a smarter shooter than most of its contemporaries, which is the Bungie way. And they did some really creative stuff with the level design, especially given the technical limitations of the game engine. Like there's this one map you can only traverse in two separate ways, the left path or the right path. But once you've ascended to the next level, you can't go back the way you came. You have to return downwards the other way, and only then do you get to see the whole map. Or this tiny little level that seems like just one room with ladders leading down, to a slightly larger but still pretty small level with a ladder leading back up, to a whole new massive area of the previous level, which has another ladder leading back down, to a whole new massive area of the downstairs level, which contains a key that lets you unlock a bunch of new areas on the first level again. Or this map where you're stuck in a room with 4 teleporters, each of which leads to a completely separate section of the level, yet somehow all of these lead you back into that same goddamn room again, which is a bit of a mindfuck. Also, like all good adventure games, there's a ton of secret stuff to find, which I fucking love. There's helpful shit like hidden ammo stashes you can only find by searching just the right place. There are fake walls you can walk right through, revealing hidden teleporters to other levels, which can be really useful to shave off time as you travel through the pyramid. The conversations with the dead are full of weird little Easter eggs from the developers, and you can even find a super rare secret item called the Easter egg. Go ahead, eat it and see what happens. I dare ya. But there's also plenty of stuff about Pathways into Darkness that sucks ass. First of all, this game is punishingly hard. This harkens from the Dark Ages, where video games hated you and wanted you to fail. Fuck Dark Souls, you ever tried Mega Man? It starts right at the very beginning, where you find a bunch of dead Nazi ammunition, lulling you into a false sense of security until you realize exactly how many fucking enemies the game plans to throw at you. Until you discover that magic ammo box, you will constantly find yourself running out of bullets and having to use your knife to pick off bad guys one by one. Which, to be fair, one of your dead Nazi friends does warn you about, but still, it's a bitch. And throughout the game you will be randomly ambushed by swarms of enemies from all directions, most of whom can take you out in just a couple hits, and you kinda just have to keep trying and dying over and over again until you get it right, which is made even more difficult by the fact that you can't just save anywhere like a modern shooter. Similar to Marathon, you have to find one of these red save runes, and there's usually only 1 or 2 per level, so you have to backtrack to find one every time you want to save, which is nerve-wracking in itself because monsters randomly respawn in this game too, so even if you cleared out an area before, you're still not safe from getting fucking jumped. Also, because of the many different paths you can take to explore the pyramid and how a lot of the really crucial clues are contained deep in random dialogue trees, it's really easy to miss stuff. Like you can get pretty far into the game having not found any of the magic crystals, and have no clue at all that you missed anything since you can't talk to the dead, in which case it seems like the game is just fucking impossible. Or on one level there's this little metal box sitting in a corner, and no spoilers, but that thing is 100% required to beat the game. But it's super easy to walk right by it since all these motherfuckers are attacking you at the time, and if you miss it, you're just fucked when you get to the end. Also, when it's finally time to arm the nuclear bomb, you have to enter a code. There's one helpfully listed in the game manual, but guess what? That's not the right code anymore. But you'll only know this if you happen to have asked the right question to the right dead guy 10 levels ago. There are even some crucial techniques for surviving certain situations for which you get no clues at all, in the dead guy conversations or the manual, so you just have to figure it out your damn self through trial and error. Like on one level, you get attacked by flying reptile things. Turning off your flashlight doesn't work like it did for the rats, so what the fuck are you supposed to do? Well, there are these weird explosive pods lying around, and you'll eventually discover that, if you step on one, the frog monsters go away for a while. So you can only get through this map by occasionally, intentionally stepping on a landmine, which is totally counterintuitive. Or there's this part where you get trapped in a room with a corpse who informs you that the doors only open every few hours, so you're gonna suffocate to death just like he did. How the hell are you gonna get out of this one? Well, it turns out the answer is put on the random red cloak you found like 9 levels ago. You know, the one whose description said there was nothing interesting about it at all? Yeah, apparently that shit actually speeds up time, so if you wear it, then rest for a while, the door will open before you die. die. But again, there is absolutely nothing to indicate this. You just have to try random shit until you find the right answer. Unless, of course, you shelled out the extra $11 for the official hint book. Man, gamers really got fleeced back in the day. And as if all that wasn't enough, that dirty bastard Jason Jones also added sadistic little traps that mislead you. Like early on in the game, you have to decide between exploring a level called Feel the Power or one called Wrong Way. If you try to beat Feel the Power at this point in the game, you will absolutely fucking die. So, as it turns out, Wrong Way is totally the right way, and they named it that just to fuck with you. In a similar vein, while most of the secret teleporters are helpful, letting you skip whole sections of the pyramid, there are some that instantly transport you to certain death without any warning, and you kinda just have to find that out for yourself. And remember that ruby ring that makes all your crystals charge faster? You also find an amethyst ring, so naturally you put it on hoping it's useful, only to realize that it makes all your crystals charge way slower. So again, it was put there just to fuck with you. Then there's this Barney the Dinosaur looking motherfucker, who you'll waste all your ammo trying to kill before you realize he's completely indestructible and you literally just have to run away. And even if you do make it all the way to the end of the game, there are still so many ways you can fuck up the ending. You can run out of time before setting the nuke, in which case the world is destroyed. You can forget to arm the nuke, in which case the world is destroyed. You can set the nuke to detonate too late, in which case the world is destroyed. You can set the nuke to detonate too early, in which case the world is saved, but you still die. You can forget to grab a radio to call for rescue, in which case the world is saved, but you still die. Or you can call for rescue too late, in which case the world is saved, but you still die. Seriously, this game just wants you to fucking die. Also, your movement in pathways is incredibly slow. Doom, this is not. For some reason, our seasoned Special Forces guy walks around at a fucking snail's pace. There's no run button, this is the speed you move for the entire game. Which gets boring as hell because you spend a ton of time backtracking through places you've been before. It's also frustrating because so much of the combat revolves around quickly dodging projectiles. Or rather, slowly trying to sidestep projectiles, often unsuccessfully. And, same as my gripe about the first Marathon game, the graphics fucking suck, even for the time. This seems to be a theme with early Bungie games. All the characters look super cartoony, like they were drawn by a kid, which undoes a lot of the creepiness they worked so hard to create. If there were Doom bad guys coming out of the underground shadows, it would be completely terrifying. But instead, we get whatever the fuck this is. And finally, one of my favorite go-to complaints, too many of the maps are basically just mazes, which feels lazy. Obviously, due to the technical restraints of the game engine, they couldn't have a lot of variety. The levels are limited to being flat one-story layouts with minimal decor, but it still kinda sucks getting through one of the more creative maps to then find yourself once again lost in a giant level consisting entirely of the same repeated feature over and over again, which happens a lot. That, or a maze of teleporters that take you to other teleporters, so you have to find your way around by random chance, which also happens a few times. Hell, there's even a maze level literally called the Labyrinth, which randomly changes layout every time you visit it, and as if that wasn't annoying enough, it's full of these extra fast electrical spheres that sneak up behind you and zap you to death. Fuck those things. Fortunately, this game does have an auto map, so you can see where you've explored already, but it only helps so much when you're stuck in something that looks like this, or this, or this. Fuck. So, while Pathways into Darkness is a fun and spooky game that was truly ahead of its time, it's also really early Bungie stuff, so expect a lot of jank. I'm giving this one 6 decapitated Cubans out of 10. It's an interesting playthrough for old school shooter fans and or Bungie devotees, but it's a pain in the ass to actually make it all the way to the end, so proceed at your own risk. So, how to actually play this bad boy. Pathways into Darkness was originally released in 1993 as a set of 3 floppy disks, and a couple years later on CD-ROM, but both of these are for old-ass Mac computers and won't run on any modern system. Fortunately, in 2013, a game studio called Man Uptime, who were fans of the original, created an updated version that can run on modern Macs and is still available for free in the App Store. But what if, like most of us, you don't own a Mac? Well, for many years, there was just no way to play this classic. That is, until 2019, when a dedicated fan by the name of Workincacantur faithfully reconstructed the entire game in Aleph 1, the same game engine that powers the modern ports of the Marathon trilogy. This version comes with a lot of modern improvements like support for widescreen and HD resolutions, as well as a nifty new heads-up display, because the original looked like this. Yeah, no thanks. Workincacantur's Recreation isn't totally identical to the original, but it's goddamn close. And more importantly, the LF1 version can be played on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Nothing yet for mobile devices or consoles, but if you have pretty much any computer, give this game a try if you enjoy shooting monsters and or talking to dead Nazis. Links in the description. How the fuck do I kill this Barney the Dinosaur son of a bitch? It's all I want in life.